For today's double review, we have two very action-filled titles to look at. First off, the vampire-filled #Blood, and then a different kind of a Souls-like with Void Souls. #Blood, which I'll be referring to just as Blood, to make things easier for me, is an action-adventure game. You play a young girl who has moved to a new town, and as being the new girl, she has to face a lot of challenges, making friends, learning to fit in, and apparently stopping a vampire uprising and tech mogul from enslaving the world. The aesthetic here is definitely going for like 90s cartoon, very slapstick, very expressive characters, and as someone who grew up watching Nicktoons and all that, I love the art style of this game. Our general gameplay here is going to be more on the Zelda-style action-adventure. Each chapter, you'll be able to explore the town and get into at least one kind of major dungeon area, looking for upgrades, items, and trying not to get killed from all the enemies trying to get you. At the end, you'll fight a very over-the-top boss, beat that, and you'll move on to the next area. There are side quests to find, kind of little things to collect, and you're going to be, again, focusing heavily on combat, specifically going to dodge and try and counter enemies. The general look again in this game is phenomenal, but where it unfortunately falls apart for me is the details when it comes to combat itself. So, the first thing is that it can be very hard sometimes to get enemies. They can come at you from like kind of weird angles and you can't quite get your attack to connect with them. But a more pressing issue is that the game starts throwing in enemies that have basically zero attack animations. What that means is that the second you're in attack range, the enemy hits you. You can't dodge out of the way, you can't kind of counter, it's just that the second you're in range, boom, you get hit. And this happens quite a bit as you get later on. As the game progresses, another point that they start introducing are basically enemies getting punishment elements, where if you attack them with the wrong weapon or you attack them at the wrong time, they can just counter you for massive damage. And it slows down combat quite a bit, especially if you start fighting them before you get access to some of the upgrades to aid you. And the pacing of Blood feels a bit off. The beginning is very slow. They kind of walk you through the whole selfie system, kind of how you do basic movement and combat, but then it fails to actually onboard you when it comes to dealing with enemies who have counter moves. And I didn't even know that there was an item menu in this game for like using healing items and consumables, because I was expecting there to be some kind of onboarding for that never came. I just happened to notice it while I was looking at the objective page that, oh, in that little font up there, there's an item section. The level design gets a little bit more frustrating as it goes on as well. The puzzles kind of fall more into trying to find a key to open up a door or the clues you need to solve a puzzle. But there are definitely some cases where I just got lost. I had no idea what the game was asking me to do. And on top of that, with the enemies kind of coming back and getting in your way, it can become more and more frustrating to try and explore and navigate. Unfortunately for me, at the end of the day, Blood is one of those games that is very pretty to look at, but it's missing the depth and a well-defined combat and just general gameplay to keep me going all the way through to the end. If you love this kind of cartoon art style, that may be enough to carry you through all the way, but if you're hoping for a game that pops as much as its art, this one may unfortunately be a little bit disappointing for you. We go from the land of vampires to the land of, well, geometric shapes, with Void Souls. This is a Souls-like, despite having a very different terminology in the title. It is a world where, as per Souls-like rules, you are in prison and everyone is out to get you. But when mysterious power breaks you out, you must explore the world to figure out why everyone is trying to get you, grow in power, and of course, get good. Kind of the main MO of Void Souls is streamlining the entire Souls-like package down. This is not a game where you're going to be choosing from dozens of different swords, clubs, morning stars, maces, spells, and all that. Instead, you have a smaller group of weapons. Each weapon will have different stat scaling, as well as being able to choose from a secondary, an artifact, as well as manipulate your potions at some point as well. And the game does a good job of presenting things very cleanly to you in terms of how you want to build your character. I went with a very high kind of stumble or stagger strategy, so that I didn't hit too often, but when I did, I could almost break stagger in 1 to 2 normal strikes. But you are free to explore and change things up as you see fit. One of the more interesting ideas is how defense works. Because this is a top-down game, it means you don't have the same kind of expressive animations or tells as you would other Souls-likes. So you do need to very much pay attention to the timing for what kind of defensive move you want to use. So you can go for a dodge-based build, a parry/counter, and so on. Or just stick at far range and throw lots and lots of arrows or knives at people. The level design here again follows the kind of classic formula. Each area is very wide with multiple secrets, fake walls, and shortcuts to unlock. Once you kind of get past the opening area, you are kind of given or sent to a quasi-hub area to choose your next destination. I like the upgrade system where you can choose a different modifier for your preferred weapon. Each modifier has kind of like a different side grade. So you can do more damage, less stagger, more stagger, less damage, or other rules depending upon your weapon of choice. All in all, I was enjoying Void Souls. The difficulty of this one, I would say, is on the moderate to moderately difficult side. Even though this is a top-down style game, you still have that issue when it comes to having to fight multiple enemies at the same time. And you can have that case where all the enemies are kind of attacking either at the same time, or they're kind of slightly off-cycle, so you can't really get in and get a hit off. Now, I would definitely recommend if you're going to go for this one, you want to have both a melee and range option. Being able to kite enemies or kind of pull one in off the group will make your life a lot easier. If you're not a fan of Souls-like design at any respect, I don't think Void Souls is going to do it for you. The boss fights definitely follow that formula of giant guy with a lot of interesting patterns to avoid, and get dodging around to get that one hit in and then get the heck away and rinse and repeat. But I am interested to see where this game goes further, and I do want to go back to it and see what else there is in terms of progression and gear. I would say Void Souls is the perfect game for someone who likes a Souls-like, but is not looking for a super heavy time invested one. One where you're going to need to consult guides and build orders in order to have any chance of surviving. This one is far looser in that respect. And once you find a weapon and a style that you like, you can kind of just keep pushing forward with that, and it should work out for you. Whether, again, you want to go for range, kind of more general attacking, parrying, staggering, and all that great stuff. So with that, we're going to wrap up this double review here. Both games were played with press keys. If you'd like me to play your game for a future stream and video, please reach out. It does not have to involve blood, hashtags, or triangles. And let me know what you think about them in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and if you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.